Greetings, fellow men. Servus Männer. This is Red Pill Germany again, and today I want to cover the recent elections in the Czech Republic. The result was, of course, a decisive victory for Andrej Babis, who is already called the Trump of the Czech Republic, or the Trump of Prague. Now I want to talk about also whether or not this comparison is a good one or whether or not it's fair, but I don't want to make this video only about the persona of Andrej Babis. I also want to talk about other parties in the Czech Republic, and just a little disclaimer in the beginning, I'm of course not a expert in Czech policy or in the political sphere of the Czech Republic. I just want to share with you guys outside of Europe, maybe even English-speaking people all over the world, this maybe underreported event, but I think it's very important for what's going on in Europe at the moment, and I just want to relate what I found out so far and what my impressions are as an outsider observing from the West, from Germany. So first of all, Babis was already in the government of the Czech Republic in the last term. He was in a coalition with the Social Democrats and also with a Christian Conservative party. He was the finance minister, and his party ANO 2011, that's the name of the party, was already in the coalition. Now the outcome of this election was that these Christian Conservatives and the Social Democrats, so two parties that we also have in Germany, they're traditionally the two big strong parties to the center-left and center-right in Central Europe, but they lost a lot of votes, something that is unimaginable in Germany thus far, but there they got reduced to 5% and to a little bit over 7%. So they got eradicated basically. Now when we look at the parties that have the most votes in this election, you see with a little bit under 40% Babis' party. It's a populist party, I would say. Then the ODS is some kind of a civic conservative or centrist party. It's not Christian conservative, but it is a center-right party. And they're also against the euro. They are also against migration quotas, so that means that Italy and France and Germany can dump their migrants into the eastern countries. They don't want that. And so in that sense, they're also a conservative party for Western European standards. And then the Pirate Party is basically a far-left party with a little bit of anarchism and nihilism pinched in, probably. This is how the pirates are here, and the head of the Pirate Party at least has been seen at radical left-winged events and at pro-migrant events also. Then the SPD, that is coincidentally the acronym for the Social Democrats in Germany, but the SPD is a very interesting party. I will talk about their leader and the party a little bit afterwards. They are a right-wing party, I would say, a nationalist party, a freedom party that's also for direct democracy. And they are most definitely skeptical of the European Union. They don't want the euro. They want to restrict Mohammedanism and also migrants and all that stuff. So they are the most right-wing party of the bigger parties here that I see. Unfortunately, Babis already declared that he will not cooperate with them. So he wants to cooperate with more center-right, mainstream-like parties to run the Czech Republic like a company, he said, like a corporation. So this is where the parallels with Donald Trump maybe come from. That's why he is compared to him. But bear in mind, this is all relative, you know. I'm talking about center-right in the Czech Republic. That is not the same center-right as in France, for example, or as in the UK. You see, when we exclude this Pirate Party with their far-left leader there, we have a party with 39%, one with 12.5%, and one with 11% that is against the European Union, that is against Islam, that is against migrants, that is, I would say, nationalistic, and I don't mean that as an insult. So you see, there is a broad majority of the population is actually voting for very, very conservative, very nationalistic causes here in the Czech Republic. And maybe Babis just thinks that a coalition or taking in the SPD, this direct democracy and freedom party, would be bad for business. Because bear in mind, he is a businessman. Already under the communist system, he worked in trade. And then in the 90s, after the fall of the Soviet Union, he actually became rich and he took over a company called Agrofert, which is a chemical company, and nowadays he owns more than 250 companies and is active in many, many countries. He owns even bakeries and has a little media empire also with newspapers and with television stations. So in that sense, he is a billionaire. He likes to show himself with these young hot women, his second wife, and he just has this image of being a powerful alpha male, a billionaire, just like Trump in that sense. But of course, he wasn't born into a rich family. He didn't inherit the business sense from his rich father, but he became powerful after the collapse of the Soviet system. So in that sense, many people also compare him to Vladimir Putin. But of course, the image that he portrays is very different from that of Vladimir Putin. Putin wants to be seen as the silent, tough guy and not so much as the billionaire who lives in luxury, I think. But be that as it may, what really counts here is that he has business sense. He is not one of those well-connected networking people who can't do anything real. And especially if you include the overall outcome of the elections and if you take into account the programs and the people with which the other parties ran to these elections, you see that the Czech Republic made its opinion very clear. They do not want the euro. They are very skeptical of the European Union as an institution. They also do not want to accept the migrants that Angela Merkel led into Europe. So, and now I want to say a little bit about the SPD here, this Freedom and Direct Democracy Party. It's actually very interesting. The guy who founded the party, he has Korean, Japanese, and Czech heritage. His name is Okamura Tomio, and he was born in Japan to a Czech mother and a Japanese Korean father. Now, if you have this heritage, Korean, Japanese, and Central European or Czech, how else could you turn out? Of course, you will be a hard worker and you would believe in order, education, and ambition. Now, of course, this model minority stuff that is said about Asians is a cliche, but I think in this case it is absolutely the truth. He is half Czech, of course, but still. So he is also a businessman and also a writer. He published actually a top-selling book in 2010 called The Czech Dream. He also wrote the book The Art of Governance in 2011 and in 2012 The Art of Living. In 2013 he wrote even two books, The Art of Direct Democracy and The Big Japanese Cookbook. So he's not only a master of direct democracy, he is also a master of the Eastern culinary arts. I could see this guy as the Iron Chef with a 2-meter long cooking knife or something like that. So to sum it up, of course, I don't know any of these people in person, or I haven't studied their lives and I couldn't write a biography about them, and it doesn't even matter. I mean, sometimes people tell me in the comment section, oh, don't be fooled by this guy. He is actually there and he knows George Soros and he's controlled opposition. And yeah, I know all that. Yeah, I know, for example, that Sebastian Kurz, the guy I talked about in my last video, the young Austrian guy who now will be the next chancellor of Austria. Yeah, I never said that he's my favorite guy. Of course, he is from a centrist party. But even those people, people from these conservative parties, they notice now that they have to change if they still want to win elections, or if they want to go the way of the Social Democrats or the Christian Conservatives in the Czech Republic. That's the thing. Either you come up with a young guy who can convincingly play the role of the law and order anti-Mohammedan reformer, or you lose the election. And I don't care if this is controlled opposition or something. And I always said, yes, I would have voted for the FPÖ. Yeah, I would have voted for Strache. And in the Czech Republic, I also wouldn't have voted for Babis, I think, even though I think he will turn the country into a better direction. I would have voted for Okamura-san. Easy as that. I am just also saying that centrists party now have to speak out against the European Union and against the migrants and against the euro, because otherwise they lose elections. And that is something that is worth noting as a political observer or just as an interested citizen. And let me add, by the way, this is not because the Czech Republic is so poor, and yeah, of course, they're poorer than Germany, for example, but their economy is doing quite well. They're doing quite well in the automotive sector, and they have economic growth over many years now. So it's not like people are starving in the streets, and this is why they're voting for populists. They just look to the West, and they don't like what they see there. And of course, yeah, we're rich, our lifestyle is good, but they think about the future, I guess. They want to still have their own culture, their own religion, their democracy here in 100 and maybe 500 years. They want to know that their children and their grandchildren still have the same opportunities or even more than we have today, instead of living under Sharia, for example. This is the only rational way to go in Europe right now, and we shouldn't be so arrogant in the West. Well, Germany is not really the West, Germany is Central Europe, but I'm just saying these quote-unquote Western countries, Germany is not really one of them, but be that as it may, from the Polish or Czech perspective, we are a Western country, of course, and we shouldn't be so arrogant, and we should actually learn a couple of things from them. So enjoy the rest of your day. As always, Servus, Kameraden.